Welcome back to the Goonerverse podcast, everybody. Arsenal sit top of the league, and people aren't just talking about whether or not we're going to win it. People are starting to talk beyond that, which makes for a very interesting conversation. The two of us predicted Arsenal not to win the title, and in this podcast, we're going to discuss whether we've changed our minds, if we have, why we have. I have a feeling one, if not maybe both of us have. So there's going to be a lot of praising of Arsenal, a lot of enjoying what's been going on recently, Sheroy, and just I'd really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of how good this team are, whether they're in a bit of a purple patch or whether this is really the level that we can come to expect for the rest of the season. A lot of you will be maybe thinking, yep, Loose Cannons came out today. Look, obviously it's a podcast that I part own, and I'm delighted to be a part of that. Two very different shows, so please stick around for this too, where one is more post-match and pre-match. This one is much more about the wider news and the wider sort of discussion points around Arsenal, and I'm excited to discuss it with Sheroy. How are you, mate?
Another week, and I can't complain. I was sitting there and I was thinking, it's incredible that we're in November and we've only been able to dissect 3 goals against us this entire season on this podcast, and we have been here weekly. It's nuts. I mean, there are other teams that have to dissect 3 goals against them every week, even if they're playing at home. True. And we've been 10 pods in or something like that, and one of them's a stunning free kick. One of them, Gabriel goes down a bit easy from a header. Yeah, and the other one is Erling Haaland doing what Erling Haaland does, and that's that. It's nuts. But yeah, I'm good. Still showing teeth. Whenever I'm showing my teeth, we're doing all right.
Oh, we have been most of this pod series, most of this series since we returned, which is great. So yeah, as I say, everyone, really excited to get into that. We'll talk about it in more detail. But Loose Cannons is out as well, or soon to be. I believe it comes out before this podcast. So go check that out on Turkish LDN, and more content through the week to come as well, like player ratings, which are doing live after games and all that. So go check that out. But before we go into the rest, I do want to tell you all about NordVPN. I know a lot of you are thinking, of course we know about NordVPN. Who doesn't? But if you don't know, they are a virtual private network. Now, there's loads and loads of benefits to being with NordVPN, but let me just give you some of the main ones. I think the first thing that people always tell you about, and it's the one that most people really enjoy, is the fact that you're given a whole heap of destinations around the world from which you can surf the web. So you can be abroad and you could be surfing the web like you're in England or in London, and that opens a whole world of content, especially if you're abroad and there's series that you like, you've gone on a holiday, you're traveling, you still want to access that content, you can do that via NordVPN. I know in the summer when Love Island's on, I'm definitely doing that. But sometimes it can open a world when you're, wherever you are, whether you're living, you're doing your 9 to 5, and you want to open a world of content, you do that via NordVPN and change the destination from which you're surfing the web. Whole heap of destinations offered with NordVPN. But there's a main other benefit that I don't think really gets appreciated enough. I want to talk about this too, that it protects your private data like bank details, passwords, online identity and stuff, but also protects your data whilst traveling and using public Wi-Fi. I've traveled a lot this year. I've been very, very lucky. I've been to loads of places, used NordVPN in Sydney, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, wherever I've been, in Nashville. But I've seen people have their social medias and stuff hacked by public Wi-Fi. This is a really, really important thing. And for the price of 1 coffee per month, you're getting premium cybersecurity to protect you from these things, that you can surf the web abroad and you can open this world of content as well, but you can do it all safely. One NordVPN account, I should say, can be used on up to 10 devices. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Goonerverse. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the podcast episode description box and in the description below. And we were just saying, Sheroy, that you use Nord as well, man. Genuinely, it's a great product. And I feel everyone needs it.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone that's wondering, I do use Nord, but I've had it since before it sponsored, or they started sponsoring this particular episode, right? So when James told me about this, I was like, actually, I use it anyway. And it's exactly what you were saying, bro. Whenever I travel, obviously I pay for Now TV over here to watch my Sky Sports and all of that stuff. But when you try and use that abroad, it says, well, it can't be accessed from this location. And anyone who's like me, even if I'm abroad, I kind of want to have the game on my phone, even if I'm at dinner. I know it's not the most sociable thing, but it's exactly what I like using it for. So, and in certain locations, if you use YouTube and you find it annoying on your phone that you can't close YouTube into the background and have it running, like the UK, I'm just saying with NordVPN, there are other countries where you can do that, and it does close in the background and make YouTube a lot easier to listen to. So yeah, just one of the other uses that I use it for anyway. I don't know if I should have been admitting that on here, but yeah, it works. It works for a number of reasons.
No, it's class. I've honestly had a blast using it, and like I said, been around the world a lot this year. I've been very lucky, and NordVPN has come in handy. So a big thank you to them. I also want to say a massive thank you to everybody tuning into this podcast, because we've hit it. We've hit 60k. We're there. You all did it. You got me to 60,000. Shall I be mean and say it's a week late? I'm not. I'm just going to be grateful. I am grateful. I'm genuinely grateful, everyone. 60,000 subscribers on the Goonerverse. Like, the road to 100k is well and truly up and running. But I just really appreciate it. I mean, that many of you, as Becky told me when we were at the Palace game, an Emirates stadium's worth of people are, tuning in and, well, are subscribed. And that means the world. So big thank you. And Sheroy, thank you for your part, Nick, because I know you really accelerated it.
I tried, but you're the one that got it over the line on your live, where you were like, "Look, I don't really usually do this. I hate begging, but I'm so close. Can we just get it? Please, can we get it for this live?
Like, please subscribe."
Bro, I'm happy for you, man, because you know what? One, it's testament to the quality of your content, the consistency, and all of it, and just how likable you are. But two, there are a lot of people out there that put out a lot of stuff, and it takes them a lot longer to get to 60k for one reason or another, or some people don't get there, bro. So I know in this day and age, it's very easy to go, oh yeah, I've hit 60, so now I'm going to look at the road to 100. And yeah, that's the right way to look at it. But give yourself a pat on the back for hitting 60 as well, because not a lot of people do that, man. So big up. I really hope that it is sinking in for you, because it's massive.
No, thank you. I obviously feel very lucky, feel very good about it. And like, when I started doing YouTube stuff, I mean, obviously it was AFTV, and then I started my channel while I was there. And when I started doing all that, I sort of did it like, if you guys want to subscribe, if you like it. I never kind of wanted to push the issue too much. I thought people will if they want to. But then I realized, as a consumer of YouTube, sometimes I'm watching a lot of channels. I realize I'm not subscribed to them. So I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should. So always good to give a little nudge. But also, when we were closing in on 60, and there's been like a lot of support and love in the last few weeks, I thought, go on, everyone, let's do it. I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna beg a little bit. Let's get it over the line. So thank you to everyone who did. All right, I'm sure 7.5 minutes in, people want to hear us talk about football. Should we do it? Should we get into it?
Probably. Let's see.
I think it's probably time. I'm going to make sure I time code this as well. I've just written in my notes, football talk starts. Sheroy, I don't think we should waste any time, because I think naturally the answers we give to this question are going to branch into the wider conversation. I don't have a whole list of topics written down. There's one main topic that I really want us to dissect. Are we going to do it this year? Are we going to win the Premier League? Your answer first.
I've been thinking about this all day, because you told me we were going to discuss this yesterday.
I told you at 1-0 up in the Burnley game. Like, you did. I was feeling that good about the performance.
You did. I say yes. I say that I got my preseason predictions wrong. And there are a number of reasons as to why I feel that way. I could start with Arsenal. But to be honest with you, my reasons for predicting that Arsenal were going to finish second weren't actually Arsenal-based reasons. I know a lot of people might think, well, that doesn't really make much sense, but they were Liverpool-based reasons. I was looking at what they had done in the window. I was looking at the fact that they were champions coming into a season having strengthened like that, and I just thought, if the defense is anything like it was last year for them, and the attack is what I thought that attack ought to have been from maybe not game week 1, but certainly from game week 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I just thought that they would probably already have a relatively handy lead, and they'd press on, but it hasn't panned out that way. And they still look like conceding. Those were the Liverpool reasons, right? But I have to admit, and a lot of people actually have been giving me some shit in the comments, quite rightly, but I have to admit, I didn't know that we were going to be as good defensively, as unpredictable offensively as we have been. And I really didn't think that we'd be able to bed in players like Zubimendi, like Gyökeres, even Noni when he came in, as quickly as we have. And then you look at the ancillary players that we're bedding in. It's ridiculous that I'm calling people like Hincapié an ancillary player, but even he's come in and he's looked good. players that historically had fitness concerns, like Calafiori, where I thought, yeah, but he really does need to stay fit for a while. He's been a staple, man, and he's really kicked on. So that there are so many reasons as to why I think we are, and I'm confident that we are. I was at dinner last night with a mate of mine who's a United fan, and he said to me, "It's not necessarily that people think you will win it. It's given the state of the league at the moment in terms of the way you look and the way that others, you have to win it this year." And I don't know whether that is perhaps a bit too much pressure, whether that's perhaps fan talk as opposed to the way that managers and players will be looking at it. But there does seem to be this sort of aura right now where you think you kind of do have to do it this year, you know, not just because of the fact that you were second for 3 years in a row, but this opportunity really has presented itself. And it's this kind of moment that could be the catalyst for something really, really special going forward. So that is where I stand with it, mate. And I think you're about to turn up hat in hand to your viewers and say that you're changing your prediction too.
Yeah. I did this after 5 games last season. It was a 2-2 draw in Man City. I thought the way we played in that game and the way we fought, I thought, yeah, I think we're better than them. And to be fair, I was proven right because we finished ahead of them. I just didn't think Liverpool would run away with it. I want to give us some credit, to be fair. We said when the window shut, we asked ourselves, does Arteta have the tools to win it? And we said categorically yes. Like, we think there's enough in that team to win the Premier League. And then we've also discussed in more recent weeks the question of, have we thought in the past that we had a team good enough to win it? Yeah, I think 22-23 we had a team good enough to win it. I think 23-24 we had a team good enough to win it. But the question of, but did we think we were the best team in the league? I think a lot of us would. I think we look back at a lot of the convos we had back then, we might have gone, yes, but City, yes, but Liverpool, or I think we're as good as. And I think this is the first season ever under Mikel Arteta where I felt that we are the best team in the league, and that's it, full stop. Like there's no but this and that or whatever. I just think we are. I think Haaland is unbelievable, but I don't think he closes the gap between. Like, I don't think City are here, Arsenal are here, but then, you know, with Haaland, they're there, if that makes sense. You know, he scores the goals to, you know, like Salah did last season, to make them a serious team, even if others aren't firing. But I don't know. Look, I'm going off on a tangent, so let me answer this properly. I just think this is the first time where, it's not the first time I've thought we've had a team good enough to win the league, but it's the first time I've thought we are the clear front runners here.
Yeah,
and that's exciting.
I think yeah, for sure, man. Like the general consensus is that we have been better than we thought we would be, and we perhaps better than we thought we could be, particularly defensively. I mean, bro, this is, aside from that Nketiah header which went down as a shot on target, I think this was basically the 4th game in a row where someone didn't have an attempt on our goal on target, which is obscene. And we all know that the records that have been rattled off, the no goals conceded in a calendar month and however many wins it is in a row and whatever. But one of the most telling signs, everyone talks about our set pieces. Everyone talks about how to prepare for them. Did you see those Burnley players when that corner went in yesterday? They were looking at each other like it was this notion that, but we prepped for this. We've been doing this all week. Like, how have they just gone and done that with, like, the first corner that they had from that flank, and it went back post and they headed it across and their striker was just there, like, unmarked? How did they do that? And they couldn't even get angry with each other about it. It's not that, oh, you didn't do your job. It's, we've done everything that we were drilled to do. You listen to Scott Parker after the match and he was like, yeah, but we did practice it. You know, we did practice it, and it wasn't just their set pieces. I mean, if you look at what they were doing to us in open play, there was a lot of that too. A lot of these managers are now, they're not coming along and making excuses about reasons as to why they lost to Arsenal. They're just giving the opposition credit and saying this is just an outrageously good team. And when your competitors are saying that, I think that is really, really telling. And in terms of vulnerability, go on. You want to jump in?
No, it's that someone in the comments last week got mad at me for interrupting too much. So I actually stopped myself for a second there. But there's 3 things that I really want to touch on. And I think we can do a nice section on each. The narrative around Arsenal from managers and rival fans. So we've got to talk about that, because when that changes, that's always interesting. Set pieces and our defence in general. Like, you touched on all those things. I think they all deserve a section. I just want to take you back, though, to winning the Premier League. Sure, let's actually deep that for a second. Like, it's an exciting feeling. Like, wow. Because like I said, I've watched Arsenal teams that I felt were good enough, but did I believe wholeheartedly we were going to win it? I wholeheartedly hoped. I believe we were capable. I believe we were deserving and good enough. But this is different. This really feels like we're looking behind us at the competition, not side by side. And that's not to say they won't catch up. That's not to say we won't have a blip. But I'm talking of over 38 games. You know, I'm hoping that gap not remains, but tells from the 10 games that we've seen already. Already Arsenal have pulled away a little bit. And I'm just hoping that, because I think we have been 6 points better than Man City this season and 7 points better than Liverpool this season. And of course, they will chip away at that. They're very good sides as well. They'll find momentum at some point. But I think what I'm saying is, like, it feels like we're that much better than them. And I have never felt that.
Like, I agree. How many times have we had to sit here and look at seasons and go, we could probably win it, but we will need a little bit of luck. Something will need to go wrong with Liverpool, or something will need to go wrong with Manchester City, or we need them to have a little bit of a bad patch, or we'd be looking at ourselves going, we have to do something that we haven't really done before, like that incredible run that basically, I mean, that nearly took us to the title, right? That the second half of the season before last. That was something that we didn't know we had in our locker, and we pulled it out of the bag and it nearly got us there, but we still didn't quite get over the line. Whereas now we're looking at Arsenal and saying something, there would have to be some sort of drastic malfunction from here on in for us to fall off as dramatically as we'd have to not get this over the line now. And I say that, and a lot of people are going to be like, what do you mean get this over the line now? You're only 10 games in. And I'm like, I know we're 10 games in, but let's not forget, it's 10 games in having gone to Anfield. It's 10 games in having gone to Old Trafford. It's 10 games in having gone to St James's Park. It's 10 games in already having played City. That we've had some very, very difficult fixtures in there. And we've also tested ourselves in Europe against the Simeone team and come out with flying colours. The idea that we've only lost one game in all competitions right now is telling. And that gives me that belief to be able to come here and say, you know what, I do actually think we're going to get over the line this year in the Premier League, and not worry about the consequences of people saying you should have believed beforehand, because I do think the landscape has sufficiently changed to what I thought it was going to be before a ball was kicked in the season.
Yeah, and you know, you touched on, again, another great point there. Like, it hasn't been an easy start. This is a better start than the 22-23 campaign, because if you look at that one, yeah, we had 50 points after 19 games, but that's slightly skewed by the fact that Man City twice was in the second 19 games, and we lost at Old Trafford, basically our first test. We won 5, then we lost there. Okay, then we bounced back and went on a good run. We did some great things that season. Like, I don't think we conceded a goal away from home in a London derby, or we didn't until we went to West Ham. It was like something like that, right? Like, we did some brilliant things in that season. But this one feels more sustainable. This one feels like, okay, there's really something there. And I'd take us back to those first 5 games of 22-23, because, or first 10, however you want to look at it, right? I remember we beat Leicester 4-2. We scored lots of goals, but they scored 2. We were defending. It got a little bit shaky. Palace, we won 2-0 away Friday night under the lights. But again, a lot of defending, a lot of getting deep, because it's like, you know, you just see this out till we got the second and it was job done. There were moments like that where you felt Arsenal. I remember, Fulham and Villa at home, 2-1 wins, because we conceded kind of silly goals and either went behind or there was an equaliser, and we needed to find a winner. Again, I'm not trying. That team played some brilliant football, probably the best football I've seen at the Emirates, since the Wenger days, or prime Wenger days at the Emirates. But this feels more sustainable. And when I say that, I know people go, "Oh, you're scoring from set pieces loads." I just mean, as a complete package, there's really nothing this Arsenal team can't do. And that's why I'm so excited. We talked so much on podcast Sheroy, even last season, about Arsenal having different ideas, that right now we're hearing managers praising us for our different ideas. And that is such a compliment to the team, like you mentioned. I'm sort of like going on about this point, but like, what's been the turning point for you to make you go, we're gonna win it this year? Like, what's besides maybe the gap or 10 games of good performances? Has there been something in particular that you can pinpoint and go, that's why I think we're going to win it?
Yeah, there has.
Go on.
And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people that are listening and watching right now. We have had injury after injury after injury after injury, and I have not seen performance drop off. I have not seen results drop off. Every single person that has come in just looked individually capable and talented enough to handle the position, but they understand the system. They understand the dynamic. They have the same work rate, the same desire, the same vigor, the same level of intelligence, the same level of connection with those around them and with the manager's ethos. That is ridiculous for a squad with the numbers that we have right now. And I'm not just talking about experienced professionals. I felt the same when there was a 15-year-old on the pitch. Yeah. I felt the same when there was a 17-year-old on the pitch against Brighton. I felt the same when there was an 18-year-old on the pitch. They're all and everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about Damon, Harry Maranus, I'm talking about Ranieri. We can play a front line in a cup against Premier League opposition with a 15, 17, 18-year-old, and we can still come out there 2-0 with a clean sheet. And in fact, some of those youngsters play a part in the goals. There is no drop-off. I don't have to sit here and go, oh, man, we could have won the league, we could have won that game, but it's such a shame that Ødegaard got injured, or it's such a shame that Saliba had to go off at half-time, or it's such a shame that Saka was out, or, man, Kai Havertz isn't around. Imagine if we had Jesus here, though, bro. Madueke, such bad luck. I can keep going. I don't need to do that because someone else comes in and someone else handles business, and that level of sustainability. But with the squad, a lot of people think that it actually is there just to give you a base level, but I actually think the squad is giving us a different ceiling.
I agree,
and that is what the teams around us are really, really struggling to cope with right now, because when they have one or two players out, they're really, really struggling.
I think that's such a great point. It's not actually one of the main ones I'd written down, but I think you're probably right. Like, it's the fact that there's no drop off for the injuries, and let's just go through them one more time. Ben White, William Saliba. Well, this is embarrassing. I'm trying to think if anyone in the midfield has got injured, because Zubimendi and Rice have been fine. So Ødegaard, Madueke, Saka.
Norgard was out, wasn't he, for a bit?
Norgard, you're right. Norgard was. I said Madueke, I said Saka, Norgard, Jesus, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Martinelli have all had injuries that have kept them out of an important game, a series of games, a series of weeks, or whatever. And you're right, we've basically been able to, I mean, if you made an 11 of players that have been basically completely available, you're talking Raya, Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel, Calafiori, Zubimendi, Rice, Eze, Waneri, Trossard, Gyökeres.
And even Gyökeres comes off at half-time on the weekend, right? So
I'm feeling smug about that, by the way. Not that he came off, I hope he's all right, but that he played well. Did you see the title of my player ratings?
Haters, let's talk, yeah? I was like, oh, this guy's got chest today. I was like, this is definitely a Saturday Night Live. Come on, James. This happens when you're 10:30, man. This is exactly what happens when you're 10:30. You just stop giving a shit.
Well, also, Chelsea and Spurs were about to play, and I was like, well, someone's dropping points. So I was feeling good. Look, but this isn't a pod to go in detail about Gyökeres. We can if you want, but that's, although when we talk about the squad and what's different, we'll mention him as well. In fact, let me write that down. We do want to talk about Arsenal's evolution. I'll write that down. That obviously includes Gyökeres, but I think
is there one thing for you? Is there one thing for you that makes you believe? I said the squad.
Oh, can I be really annoying? Give you kind of two answers. They're not linked. It's going to sound really weird. Okay, so the first thing is to answer it in the way you answered it, which is like, what's the thing I'm seeing about Arsenal? It is the defense. Let's really deep this for a second. We're not talking teams struggling to win. We're not talking teams struggling to draw. We're not talking about teams struggling to score. We're talking about, it's 4 layers down. We're talking about teams struggling to shoot. Like the very most basic thing you must accomplish in a football match, have shots. Like, it's one thing. Keep in mind, make a save, whatever, but you go out there to have a shot. That's the goal. Try to put the ball in that net, and teams are coming off the pitch having got nowhere near it. I've seen very dominant teams. Jurgen Klopp's sides overwhelmed you. They were so physically imposing and technically brilliant too, obviously. City sides would kill you with 1,000 passes, and obviously were physically very good too. But I've never seen a team keep another side away from goal like this. And people might say Mourinho's 04-05. I'd never watched that team. I'm talking in the years that I've watched the Premier League. Maybe the closest is probably Pep City because they do it via just keeping the ball. So you probably came off the pitch feeling like we got nowhere near them, which is a different way of doing it. But Arsenal do it in shape and structure. They do it in forcing teams into playing in areas they don't want to play. And then they force them to get into duels they don't want to get into because they're going to lose all of them. And then they force them into going longer direct only for us to eat that up too. I've just never seen this. And this isn't just a one season thing. We've seen this in previous years. We have seen stadiums clear out because Arsenal have battered them in the first 30, 40 minutes. Arsenal and their identity under Mikel Arteta is the word control. And this season we are producing that better than I've ever seen it. And I know it might sound hyperbolic to say I've never seen a team in the league do that, but I genuinely, not the way we have. I'm talking stylistically. I'm not talking level. I'm not saying we're the best. I'm saying in the way we're doing it. I've never seen that unless you can remind me of anyone. Because I can't. And maybe Mourinho's Chelsea sides are the best example. But even they, I felt, dropped deep and did it in a slightly different way. Not that we can't do that, but I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, one of the reasons I agree with you completely, right? We deprive our opponents of oxygen. We choke them out until they realize that they're not getting anywhere. But one of the reasons why it is so stark is you can associate that with all of your defenders being defensive-minded defenders. But there was a really good bit of analysis on Match of the Day last night after the Burnley game as to what our fullbacks do. We know that Gabriel's a goal threat, obviously from set pieces, but the amount of times that Calafiori has been in that centre-forward position, the amount of touches in the opponent's box that Calafiori and Timber have, the amount of expected goals that Calafiori and Timber have. So you do have your fullbacks really, really contributing in an attacking sense, and our defensive unit is still so good, right? So the rotation with the midfield, I don't ever want to be in a position where the only people that get credit for this defensive display that we're seeing are just the defenders and the goalkeeper.
I agree.
Because the midfield and the front line actually play such a huge part in it. That's why I do think it is a team thing. Mm-hmm. When I speak about our defense in general terms, I'm speaking about the back line. But when I speak about our defending, I am talking about the team. And that is actually where I think the biggest difference between this and the Mourinho side that you mentioned becomes apparent. They were one of the best, if not the best, back lines that we've seen in a very long time when it came to just shutting up shop. But when it comes to being an entirely cohesive unit as a team, all 11 on the pitch, I don't think there's anything quite like our team right now. Well,
the work ethic is off the charts. Now, yes, other teams have worked hard, not just this season, but in many seasons, true. But, sometimes when you're a side 2-0 up away from home, you're Arsenal, you're away at Burnley, there can be a snobbery to defending. There isn't with Arsenal. They all work extremely hard. Well, I think now we can get into we're half an hour in, we can get into some of those narratives that we wanted to talk about. Or not narratives is one way to put it, but like the certain sections that people kind of pull up when they're talking about Arsenal. So, I said I had two answers for why I believe, and one of them was simply the defense. There's a moment in a season when the narrative kind of across the whole media landscape just changes. And I noticed that this weekend, everyone just went, Arsenal are going to do it, aren't they? It wasn't hating. It wasn't, this is unsustainable. It wasn't picking holes in what we do. It wasn't even overgassing, going, oh my God, well, they have to win it now. It wasn't the hyperbolic. Loads from Twitter accounts to YouTubers, whoever, so many went, Arsenal are going to do it. Like, this is so unbelievably dominant from them. And the thing is, I'm reluctant to say, like, to come with like that level of chest because I'm an Arsenal fan. Like, I'm nervous, but I can't pretend that I don't have that sense. I myself are going, we're going to do it. And I know it's 10 games in. I know in literally 2 weeks, in 1 week, I could be sitting here feeling very stupid. Very, very stupid. That's football. We can only evaluate what we've seen now. things change. We know things change. Man City have won a lot of their titles without actually starting impeccably. They just beat Bournemouth 3-1. That's a very good result. So yes, everyone, very aware of all those things. But I can't lie to you about how I'm feeling. And I'm certainly not going to lie to you about how everyone else is feeling, the narrative that's doing the rounds. Sheroy, what have you made about the outside noise around Arsenal right now?
It's now come from a place of, look, don't forget, even before we were in title challenges, right? We were a sort of centre for ridicule amongst football pundits and fans alike. In some seasons, quite rightly, because we were shocking. But that ridicule persisted even when we weren't shocking. That ridicule persisted even when we were one of the best teams in the country and one of the best teams in Europe, but we fell short. That ridicule continued.
Yeah,
that's all gone very quiet now. Now it's well, you better not bottle it, or it's turned into a. They're really trying to put all of the pressure on you, but it's coming from a place of belief deep down within themselves that you're probably going to do it too. And this is from some of our most staunch haters. So the fact that we as Arsenal fans now believe is actually quite fair and quite realistic, isn't it? Because we watch our team week in, week out, and we see something and we feel something that we haven't seen and felt before. But even the staunch haters from the outside now, they're trying to change tact with the way that they speak about Arsenal. That's one section of them, but there is another section of them that, as you say, are just giving absolute appreciation. And that's, I said it at the beginning and I'll say it again, there is no bigger testament to what you're doing than when you look at the opposition, when you look at the opposition players, their captains, their managers, all of whom come out and say exactly the same thing. Diego Simeone came out and said it, man. Like every single person is just going, hands up. These men are, if you listen to Pep Guardiola just now after his Bournemouth interview, right, they ask him a question squarely about whether he thinks his team are in a title race. This is a question about Manchester City and how they're getting back on track. I think they've just won 4 home games in a row. His first response is, well, it'd be nice if Arsenal conceded a goal. That's the first thing that Pep Guardiola says. And in a weird way, I think, even though he's up against Arsenal and he wants to win, I think there is an element of pride when he looks at what Arteta and Arsenal are doing, because I think he does feel partly responsible for Arteta's success, and he genuinely does wish him well, even though he never wants him to beat Pep. I think he genuinely does feel a sense of, you know what, credit to you. It's nice seeing what you're doing. You're right. It feels different.
It's funny with Pep. I feel like it will drive him crazy while he's involved in the fight. And then maybe the minute he's not, it's a phone to Mikel and congrats. But let's get there. Because I know some people, I know rivals watch these these podcasts too. I know a lot of you will be saying, slow down, you're talking like you've won it, or you're talking like you're 30 games in with a 9-point lead. No, rightly so, we're not. And I've got a section written down. I want to talk about what could go wrong from this point. I think it's important that we look at what what else could essentially happen. And so we'll be kind of somewhat prepared for that and acknowledge that Arsenal still need to improve. What can we improve? All those things. But yeah, you're right to highlight what rivals are saying. But don't you think there's somewhat like, I know the whole heaping pressure, right? Well, you better not bottle it. Don't you think like there's a slight turn in narrative towards more of a, how do I put it? More of a like, what are the 5 stages of grief? Like one of them's acceptance, right? I feel like there's a lot of people at the accepting, like,
yeah,
okay, I better start praising them. I better start acknowledging how good they are, because this is going to happen. And look, that won't be everyone. And look, and also the algorithm's a funny thing. It's like what does X feed you? What does YouTube feed you? Right? I watch positive Arsenal content, so I'm probably going to be fed that stuff. And there's probably thousands and thousands of people in the world saying, no, unsustainable, it's all set pieces, boring to watch, Liverpool will click, City will click. Cool. It's still too early. Sure. That's absolutely all true to a degree. But I definitely think one thing that's given me hope is seeing the narrative, because I've never felt that the outside thought we were going to do it. I felt there was hope within the Arsenal fan base, hope within the group, hope within Arteta, but not that the outside world was looking at us going, yeah, you're going to do it. I felt they always looked at us and went, Rodri though, Haaland though, De Bruyne though, Pep though, Salah though, Van Dijk though. And that's not coming through at the moment.
Yeah, but can I be frank? I mean, it's probably going to be dealt with in your next section anyway. But everything you just said, I was thinking parts of that when I was watching City today or yesterday when the people watched this. I was sat there and I did watch Foden look that little bit closer to what Phil Foden generally looks like. I did look at Diaz and Guardiola, and actually, you're up against a pretty formidable Bournemouth attack, and you guys looked pretty good. I looked at Shirky and I thought he really does add another dimension. And obviously, I looked at Erling Haaland and I thought, if you continue to go at this rate, I'm going to be telling my grandkids about you because you're that good, right? So I did feel that way. And when you say Van Dijk, though, Salah, though, like they're still here. They're not at their imperious best, but they are still here, and there are a lot of players there that haven't. Exactly. So that is all completely valid. But when we're now in a position where, if someone says Van Dijk, though, I can say yeah, but I'm not suggesting their careers are the same. But I can say yeah, but Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, Timber, Raya, though, innit? Like, you know. Does the Van Dijk though hold as much weight when I say that now? When someone looks at me and said the only two names there out of all of the names that you mentioned, really for me right now, are Salah if he gets to the levels that he got to last year, and Haaland because of what he's doing now. Those are the two differential factors. But even then, if I talk about the propensity for us to score from all over the pitch, and the amount of different goal scorers we have and the variety in our attack and all of that, I do feel a little bit better and a lot more comfortable when people throw the name Erling Haaland at me because of how impressed I am with what we're doing going forward too.
Well, you raise a great point, which is basically the quality of our players. And again, if we did combined 11s 2 years ago, how many players did Arsenal really get in? I think they'd probably get Saliba in at the time. I don't think Gabriel would have, if I'm honest, back then, 2 years ago, even though he was fantastic.
I think Rice would have got in.
Sorry?
I think Rice would have got in.
Do you know what's so funny about that? Like, yeah, but with Rodri and De Bruyne, you know, like this is 2 years ago, so before Gravenberch was cooking and stuff. You know, right back is Trent, left back is Gvardiol. Haaland's up front. Salah's on the right wing. On the left is you kind of get my point, right? Now, if we're doing a combined 11 with the three, Raya's the best goalkeeper at the three clubs. Now, I know Donnarumma's a sensational goalkeeper, but I think Raya is too. And I think Raya, is he better than Donnarumma? Yeah, he is, isn't he? Probably the most complete goalkeeper. Distribution. Like Donnarumma is just an unbelievable shot stopper. He's got a hell of a kick on him. I'm not saying that's all he is, but I'd say Raya's the more complete goalkeeper, wouldn't you?
For what we want in our team, I would take Raya completely. Yeah.
And they're obviously at their absolute best out of all of them is Alisson, but he's injured right now.
Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah.
Then you're making a back four. For me, the only right back when fully fit at his best that can chat to Timber is Reece James, and he obviously plays for Chelsea. So Timber's in there. Sorry, Saliba and Gabriel are the two centre-backs I'm going for right now on current form. Of course, we know Van Dijk. We know Konate could be brilliant on his day. We know Diaz's legacy. Gvardiol's a terrific player. But again, I'm not trading my two. I'm not. Like, Calafiori, again, like, that's my pick. So you could argue the whole back five is ours. In midfield, we know Rodri at his best. We know Gravenberch at his best, but they're not at their best right now. Closest probably Gravenberch because of last season's form. But I'm not trading Zubimendi and Rice. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, Rodri said he gave Zubimendi the keys. Like, Rice is as big a big game player as I've seen at Arsenal for a long, long time. Saka's the most informed right winger of the lot right now. And I know that this is where things can change. So we'll do the whole section of why we have to be. This hasn't been a very humble 38 minutes. We will do the section on why we must be humble and rein it in a little bit. But you get the point I'm going for here, right? Like, and some people are going to go, so what is it, James? The whole team is Arsenal. My point is, like, Arsenal fans can come with chess for almost every position but the striker one. And we like what our striker's doing. Like, we can come with chess for like almost every position. And that's the defense, the depth. Yeah, like there's a lot there that we can really kind of pin our hopes on.
Who was having this conversation? I don't know whether it was on a pod that you were on or whether I saw it on TV, but someone was looking at the Ben White, Mosquera, Hincapié, Lewis Skelly, Kepa back five and said, looking at the back five that Liverpool are fielding right now, which one are you taking, right? And the fact that we were sat there and having a conversation about which you think would be most solid based on form right now says a lot, because I've just named our entire second string, not to be disrespectful, but it is our second choice back five. And a lot of people think that would actually serve Liverpool a lot better than their current first choice based on form, obviously. And that's telling.
Plays to depth, doesn't that bit? So yeah. Set pieces continue to be a part, and this is where, rather than make this necessarily about set pieces, this is where we make this about Nicholas Jova, Stuyvenberg.
Camera off again. Sorry, did you see that?
I nearly knocked my set as well, centre flying.
Right.
Everyone who's involved, Molina, Gabriel Heinze, everyone involved in the club. But I mean, ultimately, the coaching sensation on the set pieces are proving sustainable, again, for want of a better word. Now, let me ask you about the Sheroy, because you mentioned this as well when you talk about all the things that you've loved about Arsenal this season. But you mentioned the Burnley players, and Scott Parker said, we prepared for this. And that is, I'm so glad they said that. I didn't catch the quotes because I had to head straight out for dinner. But I love to hear that, because that's the point. That's why we're raving about Declan Rice and Gabriel so much. That's exactly the point. They're all, Burnley players, and they're tall, they're big. They have a load of defenders in there. I think they played a back five, if I'm not mistaken. They prepared. They got ready for this. They're typically quite good off them, I think, if you listen to Scott Parker. And what can you do? Because when the delivery is that good, and the player's got that much of a run on it, what can you do? You can watch it back and go, well, you should have stood there. Cool. But why didn't they do that in the moment? Because Arsenal have got these mechanisms, all these little things they're doing in the set pieces nailed. And we saw us do it against Atletico Madrid. We went to the back post, nodded it across, goal. So Burnley would have looked at that and gone, right, so they've got that in their locker too. Oh, they did it. Not the first time. I think Gabriel equalised against Tottenham in the North London derby at home back in February, whenever it was. Cross whip to the back post. He's there to attack it. This time he went directly in. So what can you do? What can you do when it's that good? I mean, where things can go wrong is that our delivery stops or Gabriel gets injured. But what can you do to stop that if you're the opposition?
How many times through history, right? All through the lens of individual players as opposed to something that a team does. But I remember I used to watch Arjen Robben, and every time he used to score, I used to go, he's going to do that. And the opposition will go, we know he's going to do that. But he's so good that there is nothing you can do, and you can't stop him. And a lot of people say the same now about Erling Haaland, right? There are just certain threats on the pitch, more often than not individual players, as opposed to a cohesive unit thing from a set piece, for example. But more often than not, that will be a huge part of preparation. When you have someone that is so good, you have to apportion a lot of your time on the training ground to the threat that they carry. But as ridiculous as this sounds, you are only in that situation focusing on one person. You can just say, okay, fine, maybe double up. There are things that you can do there. There are well-known strategies that you can do to try and nullify an individual. And we've done it quite successfully with Erling Haaland over the years, for example, even when he is in prolific form. This is a real problem, because they have to nullify 6 players roughly in the box at any given time and stop us from getting that delivery. I've now become a bit of a weirdo. Like, I'm now watching these corners back like 3 or 4 times to see, okay, but if he hadn't got the flick on, who else was in space? What was this bloke doing? What was he doing on the goalkeeper? What was Trossard doing back post? Where did Gabriel start that run? Was he being grabbed? Actually, no, Saliba was being grabbed. Maybe we could have got a penalty if we didn't score the goal. I'm watching it from so many different angles now, and I'm thinking, actually, this is very often a tripartite threat. It very often does have Gabriel involved. But there are 3 or 4 different options at any given time. And what that does to these defenders when we're setting up and when the ball's coming in, they have to apportion their minds to such an extent that there is just going to be a free man at some point. There just is. That's a long way of me saying, bro, I don't know what they can do. And it's obvious that I don't know what they can do, because you've got accomplished Premier League managers and accomplished European managers that don't know what to do with this. It's on everyone's agenda. People are alert to it, right? The way that Slot was talking about Liverpool, he was saying one of the reasons that I mentioned the whole team's going long thing is because I didn't want to mention it a few weeks earlier, because I didn't know that people had, I didn't think it was that obvious. But then I thought it was so obvious that people cottoned on, and I would just go out and say it, because it's something that we're going to have to prepare for anyway. People are doing that with us, right? So he's acknowledged that. It's exactly the same here. People know what's coming. We can talk about it all the time. The media talks about it all the time. The manager talks about it all the time. There is nothing that people can do right now. When you say what could go wrong with our set pieces and the sustainability of it, the way that it dries up, I have noticed a slight drop off when we don't have our primary Saka and Rice on the pitch to take them, and I have noticed a very, very significant drop off in the threat when Gabriel's not on the pitch. But if two of those three are on the pitch at any given time, I don't know if that does go anywhere, mate. I don't.
Well, I think your Erling Haaland example is actually perfect because, for some reason, because it's set pieces, it's considered like the ugly side of football. For some reason, it's kind of frowned upon. But like a through ball where Haaland's bearing down on goal, how many times he scored that goal just this season alone? And we knew it for years that he had this in him. So that's a great example of where we could sit there and go, well, why aren't you all stopping him? Why don't you drop the line? Why don't you have do you remember back in the day, they used to have sweepers, like someone, like a defender who played behind the back four. I don't think that's ever making its way back. But like, you had you had these goals being scored by Erling Haaland, and we could easily be saying the same thing. Well, why aren't you all stopping him? Arsenal, we've just been going nuts about how great our defence is, and look at how they cut through us. And he was found a situation which he was bearing down on our goal, because City have manufactured that time and time again perfectly. They know what they're doing to create that moment for Erling, and that's where I think it's the same with set pieces. People need to just stop and just give us our flowers and just go. And this is what I mean by the narrative around the media. A week ago, it was, it's not sustainable, it's just set pieces. Now it's, guys, it is sustainable. Like they keep doing it, and no one knows how to stop it. And that's, I think, I think your point on Erling Haaland is really fascinating, because everyone has go-tos. A few years ago for City, it was Foden just smashing it in the top corner time and time again. But you think City didn't work on how to drop the opposition defence back to create the space on the edge of the area for Gvardiol, for Foden, for De Bruyne? They did. They didn't manufacture it to get their best shooters in those areas. Rodri, how many times have we seen Rodri come back on the edge of the cutback and score an important goal for City? They've worked that. They've worked that time and time again, and set pieces are just another coached method that Arsenal are getting relentless joy out of.
Yeah, and for the last 2 weeks, we had to listen to percentage stats about how many of our goals came from set pieces, right? But today I heard the commentary say Erling Haaland has been responsible for 65% of City's goals. This is one person. So if we are having sustainability discussions, why are the sustainability discussions focused upon what we're doing when that actually involves, as I said, probably about 6 or 7 people at any given time? When in actual fact, 65% of the team sitting in second right now, 65% of their goals have come from one man, and they don't actually have a backup striker. That for me is where the more obvious sustainability discussion comes, right? And that isn't me sitting there saying that they can't get goals from elsewhere if they really wanted to, but I think it ought to be a slightly larger talking point if you're stacking up against our set piece discussion, but for one reason or another, it's not.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's do it. The boring bit, not the boring bit. The let's pour cold water a little bit. What could go wrong? Because let's be honest. While I'm feeling really good, and this is a podcast that we could have done 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but we said, I think we thought, let's get to 10 games. Let's see Arsenal get through another away game. Let's, and also let's not force it. Let's do it when we genuinely believe it. And I think it's the first time we both genuinely believed, let's change our prediction. We're feeling good about this. I suppose what I'd ask is, what could go wrong in the sense that why do we need to be humble still? What do we need to just slow down with? Where is there an air of calm? Because I'm not going round sort of feet up going, well, that's it. Title one. Like, I know we're going to do it. It's kind of, I don't feel that. I feel genuinely believing that we're going to do it for the first time, but not, feet up, it's easy, relax, it's all good. Things can go wrong. What are those things, Sheroy?
You know how I said that the thing that made me believe is the squad?
Yeah.
And what could go wrong is we could continue to pick up injuries at the rate that we have been picking them up. I know that I'm saying that the squad is incredible, but this is ridiculous now, man.
Yeah.
I know that we haven't heard anything about Gyökeres and Zubimendi, but if anyone wants to talk about whether they've elevated us or not, look at the 45 that we played without Zubimendi. I think it was it West Ham? Or the first
minutes without Zubimendi against West Ham.
Yeah, and look at the difference when he comes on, and then look at the 45 that we played against Burnley when Gyökeres came off. You suddenly go, oh shit, yeah, I remember seeing that. That was last year, wasn't it? That wasn't that good. And we are in that position, unless and until some of these other players come back, we are 1 or 2 injuries away in certain positions from there probably being a drop-off. Now, again, I'm not saying that means that we lose the league, and I'm not suggesting that I'm ever going to use our squad as an excuse, but I've been squarely asked what could go wrong. If we continue to pick up a pretty major injury every 1 or 2 games, then no one can deal with that, right? We do need to get players back, and we do need to keep them fit.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the risk of sounding like we're contradicting ourselves, I agree with you. And the point from my perspective, and forgive me if I'm just repeating what you said in different ways, great, we've got a squad to deal with injuries, but that doesn't mean every player can get injured. And that doesn't mean that fatigue won't kick in for certain players. And that's actually not, while it's good we have depth, it's not good for cohesion in the squad. Teams that have won the title get into those last 3 months, basically throwing out the same 11. Go again. Momentum. If you ask me what was Liverpool's best 11 last year, I could tell you. If you ask me what was City's best 11 in 22-23, I could tell you, because you remember those sides. I could probably remember Chelsea's, when did Mourinho return? 2015 winning team. I think they won it in 14-15. Or Conte's team, with Hazard, Pedro behind Diego Costa. You remember those sides because you recognise that the 11's going out again and again and again and again. And that's the one thing I'd say. Like, injuries could prove a problem if it actually starts to disrupt cohesion and the regularity of that 11 going out and relationships really being built for the really testing time. So I think you're right on that. Injuries essentially. I think City could kick into gear. I know they lost at Villa. I don't think they're City of old. I still think they'll lose another couple games this season. But Erling Haaland is scoring at a rate. I mean, this guy is the greatest goal scorer, pound for pound, the Premier League's ever seen.
People are saying it's early and he hasn't done this and he hasn't done that. I'll be honest with you, I'm there already. I am there already with him. Like, it's ridiculous.
Shearer's got more goals and did it, and did over longer. Harry Kane, obviously unbelievable. Mo Salah, Ronaldo, wingers output unbelievable. Probably like I'll always prefer to watch Ronaldo to Haaland, maybe even Salah, and had more striking magic moments. As a pure goal scorer, I don't know if I've known it better. When I say pound for pound, I mean for the amount of time they've had in the league as well. And of course, longevity matters, amount of teams. Shearer had injuries. All these things matter. Kane had injuries. Some might say Haaland did too, to be fair. But I just think that's another factor. I mean, it's Erling. It's Erling Haaland and Pep Guardiola. I don't think there's a more formidable duo in world football right now in terms of manager and striker.
It annoys me that I like him as well. Usually when there's someone like that, when it's like Harry Kane,
I didn't go subscribe. I think he smashed my 60k ages ago. Let me see.
I'm not surprised. Did you hear the stat that they were discussing on commentary? Apparently he's been taken off by Pep Guardiola whilst on a brace 15 times. So that's 15 opportunities where had he stayed on, he may well have had more hat-tricks to his name. The numbers are outrageous. And I know it sounds silly, but I have had this conversation. We've had this conversation on the podcast, actually, where we praise our entire team and we sit there and go, could Erling Haaland pretty much by himself take a team to a Premier League title? And I know it's not as easy as that, right?
Because I was saying earlier that he can't. I don't think one player can. Like, Salah's numbers were outrageous last season, but Van Dijk, look at the moments he had. Gravenberch was one of, if not the best midfielder in the league last year. Trent, I don't think it can ever be one player, if I'm honest.
I think McAllister was fantastic last year as well.
And do City this season have players? Do they have a Van Dijk, a Trent, a McAllister, and a Gravenberch of last season? I don't believe City have that right now. I might be wrong.
Right now, yeah. But then, look, we're doing this in the section where what could go wrong, right? What could go wrong is that City like being the team that chases you. They very often, even if you listen to City fans, they go, you know what? This is kind of where we want to be. They're 6 points behind us right now, and we haven't been to the Etihad. I don't think they're worrying about that. They're not looking at the gap right now and saying that's unassailable. They're thinking that's a piece of piss. If we want to catch them with 6 points, we need to focus on ourselves first. And if they do see themselves in gear, a 6 point gap to them is nothing, James. Believe me, a 6 point gap to them is nothing. They won't bat an eyelid at that. They just need to focus on themselves right now, and then we take it from there.
Will City beat Liverpool this weekend?
Well, there's another question. What result do you want there?
A draw. You
want a draw? Yeah. A lot of people are saying that they'd rather. I've had this conversation with 3 or 4 people. Some are saying they want Liverpool to win because they want City to drop off because they see them as the threat. Some are going the other way. I'm with you. I do want a draw. And personally, I think City will beat Liverpool this weekend. Unless Liverpool can convince me that they're more defensively solid than I perceive them to be currently. I think with the way that Sheroy, Foden and Haaland are shaping up at the moment, I think they're going to cause Liverpool problems at the back, yeah.
City aren't that defensively solid, though, themselves.
I know, but to be honest with you, I'm looking at Liverpool's attack, and I just don't think at the moment, based on form, it carries the threat that City's attack does. And I think that taken with the home advantage makes them the favourites for that fixture in my eyes. I might be wrong, but that's just where I am with it.
Well, so some Liverpool fans might be watching this going, why have you all talked about City and not Liverpool? But absolutely, they're the champions and they could click. And actually, again, on what could go wrong, Slot could get it right. And I looked at his 11, and for me, this feels right. Mamadashvili in goal. Cool. Alisson will return. Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson. That's a back 4 I recognise. Gravenberch and McAllister with Salah, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Ekitike. I just thought, yeah, that's your 11. Isak will get there. And, they invested in 2 quality attacking fullbacks. But that, I thought, if you keep rolling out that 11 for the rest of the season, they will be a problem, Liverpool.
Yeah, and they're still firmly in it. I said that it was 6 from City. What is it? 7 from Liverpool at the moment. I mean, yeah. This was one of those weekends where I think if either of those teams lost, I think heads in their fan base really would have dropped, and you would have maybe seen a few more concessions, even though it's not an unassailable lead, but just because that would have really put to bed any arguments about whether they could be consistent enough for a lot of them. But they didn't. This was a weekend where basically everyone who's meant to be in this title race won, and the table looks a little bit more familiar now too, right? So this was actually one of those weekends where you go, all right, we've got one more week leading into the international break and things start to take shape a little bit more. But in exactly what you're saying, the same way that I've described City, if the current Premier League champions with arguably the greatest right winger that I've seen in the last 10 years in the Premier League, if they click, then yeah, they're a problem. Then they're a problem too. And then all of the stuff that we said in our preseason predictions, James, that then resurfaces, right? But my point here is that would all have to happen with our standards dropping quite considerably too, because I think if we maintain the standards that we are operating at currently, I'm really not as worried if they click as I would have been in previous seasons because of everything that we've been discussing for the first 48 minutes of this podcast or whatever.
And people like Sheroy and I rarely do this, sit on a podcast and just basically just show Arsenal nothing but love for what they're doing, and it's because they're playing at that level. Yeah, we haven't got the title in hand, but we can acknowledge that we're playing at title-winning level. We've shown title-winning consistency, and we are where we are in the league, deservedly so. I'm just looking at the Premier League table now. Arsenal obviously sit top on 25 points. Yeah, 25 points. City and Liverpool haven't cracked 20 yet. They've only got 6 wins from 10. That's a 60% win rate in the league this season. We've conceded 3 goals. They've conceded 8 and 14. There's genuine reason for us doing this app, for doing this podcast. Because we believe we're not faking it, but things change in football. If they change, we'll talk about them. If they go wrong, we'll feel differently. If they continue to go right, every podcast will be like this. But we can only see. Sheroy, big thanks for joining me, man. It's always a pleasure.
I was looking at it and I was like, an hour has gone again, bro. It's ridiculous. This is what, if I'm ever going to end my weekend with a weekly pod, I keep saying it, I want it to be this one, bro. I always end it smiling, and I hope the community enjoy it too. So big up the community, big up everyone for getting James to 60k. I'm not going to get onto you lot. I'm not going to get onto you lot to get him to 100 just yet, but that will come in good time. And big up NordVPN as well. Yeah, if anyone didn't do exactly what James asked you to at the beginning, go and do it now, because I've had this on my phone for years and it's a game changer. Trust me.
No, he's absolutely right. And on that, well done, Sheroy. It's like I told you to say it, which I didn't tell you to say it, but I'm glad you did. Remember, everyone, that to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Goonerverse. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money back guarantee, and the link is in the description below. Big thanks, Sheroy. Big thanks to all of you who've tuned in. An hour has flown just like that. Remember, Loose Cannons is out on Turkish's channel as well, and there'll be more content to come this week with a live show after the game in Slavia Prague, an earlier kick off that game. Sheroy, big thanks. Catch you all in a bit, people.